Aşk Yarası, Episode 40 is coming on August 17th, 2026, and the story is heading into another explosive chapter involving Pars, Asya, Gul, and the unexpected pressure from Gul's family. And after everything that has happened recently, this episode could become one of the most emotional turning points in Pars and Asya's relationship. Pars and Azia's marriage is on the edge. The biggest question going into Episode 40 is whether Pars and Azia can actually protect their marriage from everything happening around them. Pars may have chosen Azia, but Gul's return has reopened wounds that never completely healed. Azia knows that Gul is not simply part of Pars's past anymore. She is now part of their present. And that makes Asya increasingly insecure about her place in Pars's heart. The situation becomes even more painful because Pars is caught between his responsibility toward Asya and the complicated history he shares with Gul. Gul's pregnancy changes everything. One of the biggest developments surrounding the current storyline is Gul's pregnancy. This is no longer simply a love triangle. There is now a child involved. That means Pars cannot simply walk away from Gul and pretend the past does not exist. Gul's family is also determined to make sure Pars accepts his responsibilities, and this creates a dangerous situation for Asya. Because even if Pars genuinely loves Asya, the connection between him and Gul is becoming impossible to ignore. Mahir becomes a major threat. Another major problem is Mahir. Mahir is fiercely protective of his sister Gul, and his anger toward Asya has already reached a dangerous level. Later material from the storyline shows Mahir confronting Asya and demanding that she leave Pars, while making it clear that he believes Gul and her unborn child deserve Pars's support. This creates an enormous amount of pressure on Asya, because now she isn't just fighting for her marriage, she is facing people who believe she is standing between Pars and his child. Asya considers walking away, and this is where Episode 40 could become heartbreaking. Asya has already endured insults, family pressure, jealousy, and emotional pain. But how much more can she take? The biggest danger is that Asya may begin believing that leaving Pars is the only way to restore peace. She could decide that no matter how much she loves her husband, she cannot continue living in a marriage where Gul and her pregnancy remain a constant source of conflict. And Pars may finally realize that he is actually losing the woman who stood beside him when almost everyone else doubted him. Pars must make a choice. Episode 40 is ultimately about one question. Will Pars protect his marriage, or will he allow his past to destroy his future? Pars cannot continue avoiding difficult decisions. If he chooses Asya, he has to prove that choice through his actions. But if he chooses to remain deeply involved in Gul's life because of the baby, he must find a way to do it without destroying Asya emotionally. That balance may be almost impossible. Gul's return creates a new problem. Gul's presence has already changed the atmosphere around Pars and Asya, and the more Asya tries to protect her marriage, the more everyone seems to take sides. Pars's family is divided. Gul's family wants answers. Mahir wants Pars to accept responsibility, and Asya is increasingly exhausted from having to defend her place in her own marriage. This means Episode 40 may not be about a single confrontation. It could be the beginning of a much bigger family battle. The biggest question, does Pars still love Gul? This is the question Aşk Yarası keeps bringing back. Pars has a past with Gul. Asya knows it. Gul knows it. And now the consequences of that past are becoming impossible to escape. But there is another important question. Has Pars's love for Gul truly survived, or is Gul simply reopening an old wound? Because there is a huge difference between loving someone and being unable to forget what happened with them, and Asya desperately needs to know which one is true. What could happen at the end of Episode 40? The most dramatic possibility is that Asya finally reaches her breaking point. She could decide to leave the house or even walk away from Pars entirely, but Pars may refuse to let her go. And that could lead to an emotional confrontation where Asya demands the truth once and for all. Does Pars choose her? Does he choose his unborn child? Or will his inability to make a decision destroy both relationships? That is the cliffhanger that could set up the next major storyline. Aşk Yarası has always been built around love, family, secrets, and emotional wounds. But episode 40 is taking those themes to another level. Pars is trapped between his past and his present. Asya is fighting to save her marriage. Gul is fighting for her future and her child. And Mahir is determined to make sure his sister is not pushed aside. With episode 40 scheduled for August 17th, 2026,